ready. I'm ready.
Sexual violence may be a bigger issue than what most people may realize. Corinna is the original founder of the Me Too movement, which she founded to raise awareness for the sexually abused, but people may have made this into both a positive and negative movement. The Me Too movement is a global social phenomenon that at times has been an abused source of empowerment to destroy the image of men, but is aimed to support and empower sexual assault victims and educate society on the issue of sexual assault. Corinna is the founder of the Me Too movement. Sandra E. Garcia, an author of the New York Times, writes about the founder of this movement. In 1997, Burke realized how severe this sexual abuse had really gotten. A 13-year-old girl asked to speak with her privately about her experience of being abused by her mom's boyfriend. This left Burke with nothing to say, not even Me Too. This was when the movement was established. In 2007, Burke founded the Just Be Incorporated, which is a non-profit organization to help Black women who have been sexually abused, and then she gave the title for this movement, which is Me Too. This was originally for research until Alyssa Milano, an actress, retweeted a tweet which went worldwide. She retweeted a tweet that said, if all women who were sexually harassed said Me Too, then maybe they could get a sense for how large the problem is. Milano retweeted this tweet with the caption of, if you've been sexually harassed or assaulted, write Me Too as a reply to this tweet. After this tweet, Twitter flooded with thousands of stories of women who had been sexually abused. This hashtag became a way for women to get their story out. When Burke saw this, she initially panicked. What she had dedicated her life to for the past several years was taken out from underneath her and not used for what she originally intended. Her original intentions were to help Black women who had been sexually abused to help get their stories out there. When Milano heard this, she reached out to Burke in hopes of collaborating. The two are now putting focus on the victims, which is what Burke originally intended. While Burke and Milano were moving on, there was still backlash Burke was facing and still struggling to help survivors to get their story out there. Burke was still facing backlash about the Him Too movement. Aisha Harris, an author of the New York Times, conducted an interview with Burke about her mission. Burke was not only facing backlash about the Him Too movement, but also had problems facing Black survivors. To try and help the situation, Burke updated her website for it to go through new phases. The first phase contains two new types of resources. The first resource is healing resources. Here one can find either a therapist or someone who may be going through the same issues as themselves. The second new resource would be for advocacy resources. So if one wants to find someone who's doing something in their community, then they could find them there. The second phase is collecting stories from survivors. These were not stories about being abused, but more about stories of healing, because other survivors may be needing help like that too. But since stories are widely advocated by the internet, Burke tries to counter that by telling the women that there's no need to tell the story, they just need to get it out there. Like either by telling a friend or a therapist or even a journal. Because Burke believes that retelling the story does not help. She wants survivors to tell their story, but she's also having a hard time getting Black women to tell their story because it's harder for them to say anything. It's harder for them to say anything because or even like accuse another Black man because people may not believe them. Burke has been told many stories about Black women who don't feel comfortable coming forward to express what happened to them. To quote Burke from this article, we cannot wait for the narrative to catch up with us. We can't wait for white folks to decide on what our trauma is worth centering on when we know that it's happening. Well, Burke had some struggles along the way today. Today she is sure on what the movement is advocating. According to the Me Too website, their purpose is to help Black women and young girls who have been through sexual violence. They created a community for survivors to come together and support. Their purpose is to create solutions to help stop sexual violence. Since the hashtag went viral, the research also blew up worldwide so that all women could join. The website has new resources to help seek and find healing. To quote the About Me Too website's page perfectly sums up their mission. Together, we can uplift and support each other to strengthen a global movement to interrupt sexual violence.
Now, while this movement started as something, it is
changed that isn't exactly what Burke originally intended it to be. There's been a lot of backlash that has come since the movement's beginning. In the years following the movement's start, a lot of controversy has come up about the movement's intentions, false allegations, and just things that make it aimed more towards women and against men. Catherine Deneuve, a French actress and model, published in a public letter, said, "Rape is a crime, but insistent or clumsy flirting is not." Deneuve joined with a number of other French women and also stated in this letter, "Men that are forced to resign or etc., while the only thing that they did wrong was touching a knee, trying to steal a kiss, speaking about intimate things at a work dinner, or sending sexual connotations to a woman whose feelings weren't necessarily mutual." The main concern of these women in this letter was that these men are being falsely accused because a woman may feel as though his intentions are not great. This is important because Catherine Deneuve was a very influential French actress, and it was very influential in America too, because she was very popular. Many claim that this movement has gone too far, and it needs to change for the ever-changing new society. The movement usually tends to side mainly towards women, which causes men to feel as though they are victimized. And men being raped is a very real thing that happens too, and men feel as though the Me Too movement doesn't go in that direction to support them while it's supporting the women. In a recent survey done by National Public Radio in 2019, said that 69% of the people that were interviewed said that the movement has made women feel safer and has made them feel that they now have a voice to come out and speak. But 40% of the people interviewed said that the movement has gone too far and it needs to change because it doesn't support everyone that it needs to. Now there is some people that say that there's a little bit of both. There's some people who say it's supporting while it still needs to change. This movement also seems to have a major bandwagon effect, which means that people are joining the movement because people are joining the movement. It's popular because people keep talking about it and people think they need to have a voice in it. The main question that comes up because of this movement and the controversy is who gets the benefit of the doubt, the victim or the accused? Traditional American law says that everyone who is accused of a crime is innocent until they are proven guilty, which should be how it is, but in most cases, or in some cases, people who have been accused lose their reputation and it can ruin their lives. And in some cases, it ends up ruining both sides, the accused and the person who claims to have been sexually assaulted. One example of this was Duke University in 2006. 3 Duke University lacrosse players were accused of raping a young girl and lost their scholarship, got kicked out of college, and lost a lot of money and time that they could have been putting towards their college tuition. Later, this young woman came forward and said that these were wrong. She was never sexually assaulted by these boys. And while they got back into college and were able to play lacrosse again, it was never quite the same because they had lost that time and that money. Another problem that comes from this is people assume that the thing that divides the controversy is gender, but that's not necessarily the case. More of the division is between the 2 political parties than gender. 85% of the Democratic Party says that the victim should get the benefit of the doubt, while 67% of the Republican Party agree with this statement. The 2 parties also disagree on how common sexual assault false allegations are. 77% of the Republican Party say that men are being falsely accused all the time. They're very common and men should be supported in that, while only 37% of the Democratic Party say that this is common. This shows that the Republican Party sides more towards the person being accused, while the Democratic Party sides more for the person doing the accusing. This means that it's not just a gender war that we need to worry about. It's everyone having 2 sides to the argument, and it's not just gender. False allegations often lead to witch hunts and often lead to men being afraid to give these women job opportunities because they're afraid that the women will take their intentions wrong or have a false allegation. According to the political and finance sectors, men are scared or may be scared or worried to give women these job opportunities because they might falsely accuse them or give them the wrong idea. While the movement gave women the strength that they needed to speak up about what they had been through, it needs to take more steps to accommodate for more people.
While the movement does need to expand its borders and work towards including all types of people, including all backgrounds and all genders, the movement is still in support of sexual assault victims. As Karson stated, 69% of those surveyed still believe that the movement is helping survivors. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 1 in 5 women will be raped in their lifetime. In the United States, 1 in 3 women will experience sexual assault. 1 in 4 girls will be sexually assaulted before the age of 18. 81% of sexual assault victims report PTSD from their events, and 63% of all sexual assault cases are not reported to the police. Therefore, it is clear behind the importance of the movement and the momentum from where this was coming from. This problem was ever growing. Following the initial outbreak of the movement, outpouring stories of survivors came forward, and as Corinna stated, many women were giving their stories of both abuse and healing to try to support one another. They were able to tell each other that they are no longer being silenced in this issue, and that they were bringing the issue to light and to all people, including men, to say that this is a problem, and that they were bringing each other together, according to Christina Pazanese of the Harvard Gazette. One issue of sexual assault that the Me Too movement has been able to bring to light is sexual assault within the workplace and how power contributes to those assaults. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 8% of rapes occur when the victim is in the workplace. Again, another reason we can see the importance behind needing to shed light on this issue. In the better known cases to the Me Too movement, such as Charlie Rose and Kevin Spacey, abuse of their star power was said to have given them the ability to conduct sexual assault, according to the Harvard Gazette. Power helps authority figures to coerce less powerful people into unwanted situations. Obviously, rape and sexual assault are unwanted situations. Again, because of that power, they are able to push them into silence concerning those situations, such as, if you say something, you'll be fired. If you say something, I will do this to your reputation. As Corinna stated, the amount of people wanting to come forward and tell their stories is slim because they don't want the chance of getting their reputation ruined. That is also according to the Harvard Gazette. According to Julia Wood from our Communication Mosaics, An Introduction to the Field of Communication, power is also a huge aspect in communication in everyday lives. It is used to define dominance, and especially in these situations, the assaulter or whoever is doing the actions is trying to define dominance over the other person. Research shows that men are more likely than women to establish control through power, which helps us to realize why 91% of sexual assault cases are to women and only 9% are to men, because men are more likely than women to establish power through control through power. Again, according to Julia Wood, power is a relationship level of communication, and power is influenced by the culture. Therefore, it's not the person that's saying, oh, I have all this power and I can do this and this and this to this person. It's the culture saying that it's okay for them to do that, which is why the Me Too movement was looking to shed light on this issue, because they want to say that this is not okay, that the use of your power in this way is not something that is going to be accepted any longer. By shedding light on these important power cases and pointing out their wrongdoings, the movement is looking to educate the culture on these everyday crimes. The movement is changing the culture and bringing the issue of sexual harassment to light. Again, according to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, rape is the most unreported crime. Therefore, it's so important that these stories of healing and these stories of abuse are coming forward, that these women and men are being supported worldwide. According to the Harvard Gazette, companies are working to figure out how to address sexual harassment in the workplace. They are establishing new norms and bringing in outsiders to address the situation. Many companies or businesses will hold seminars or meetings to help stop the issue before it happens instead of the other way around. An example of culture change that we have seen recently is that Gillette promoted their very controversial Me Too movement commercial, which was commented on by the CNBC News. And I will show you that now.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual
Toxic
harassment.
masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says we don't
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Wow, sweetie. Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Not cool. Not cool.
Some already are. In ways big
No, men.
and small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
Someone treat each other, okay?
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
The controversial side of this ad was that many men that see it feel as though they are being portrayed as the bad guy. Jacob Tenzing, a teacher at St. Paul Lutheran High School, was asked his reaction to this, and he said, "It makes me feel guilty." By saying this, he's showing that when men see this, even though they have no sexual allegation charges against them, they feel as though they are being attacked by ads like this.
However, the ad's purpose was not to point the finger at every man and say, you are bad and this is something you do. This was only to urge men to hold each other accountable and to help stop the issue, again, before it's happening rather than after. The movement is using real stories to promote change and to open the door for teachers and parents to discuss the issue with younger generations. Originally founded by Corinna, the Me Too movement is raising awareness of sexual abuse. The Me Too movement is a global social phenomenon that at times has been an abused source of empowerment to destroy the public image of men, but is aimed to support and empower sexual assault victims and educate the society on the issue of sexual assault. By educating society on sexual violence, the movement is changing the mindset of the culture concerning power and sexual crimes.
Thank you very much, ladies. Yay!